years. I mean, we've been out here for 5 years now, really trying to decipher what do I want to share? What do I...
Which you can't do legally, but you want to print it and paint a completely different picture of who I am and my relationship.
Amazing Tom Ford skirts and gorgeous shoes, and I mean, truly, what paralegal would ever have a wardrobe like this?
Okay, listen up. You're not gonna want to blink for this one, because what I'm about to spill, oh honey, it started with just one screenshot, one tiny blurry image from way back in 2016. Nobody cared at the time, it was just there. But years later, that same picture re-emerged like a ghost from the internet's attic, and suddenly, it changed everything. Here's the crazy part. It wasn't a scandalous leak, it wasn't a tell-all confession, it wasn't some shady paparazzi shot. Nope, it was just a message, an invitation, a harmless, friendly little, hey, if you're free, come join. But once people saw who sent it, where it was for, and most importantly, who it was sent to, oh my God, the questions started flying. That innocent invite became the missing puzzle piece nobody even realized was missing. And when the dots started connecting, people couldn't unsee it. It was like the curtain pulled back and the whole glamorous setup of how people really climbed to the top suddenly looked calculated. If you're already hooked, hit that like button, because what's coming next? It's going to make you rethink everything about how fame, power, and fairy tale stories actually work.
It all started with a joke. Just one offhand line from Colin Jost during Weekend Update on SNL.
Now here's where it gets wild. That screenshot, it wasn't explosive at first. No drama, no scandal, no red arrows and theories drawn all over it. It was plain, boring even. Just a 2016 DM from a guy named Adam Hound. Not famous, not even blue-checked, sending what looked like a chill summer invite. Hey, if you're free, come join Yacht Week in Croatia. That's literally all it said. No hidden meaning, no secret code, just a casual invite to a sunny week on the water. But when that same screenshot popped back up years later, it hit different. Because by then, context had changed.
Imagine this. You're Meghan Markle, waking up in your Montecito mansion, birds chirping, sunshine.
Suddenly people weren't reading it like, aw, cute little summer plan. Oh no. They were reading it like evidence, because by then everyone knew what Yacht Week really was. The curtain had been pulled back on that world. The exclusivity, the powerful connections, the silent deals, and the people she'd been around in those days, they'd already been picked apart and analyzed. That simple screenshot, her name, that date, that invite, became a timestamp, proof that she was there, that she was already moving through those elite waters before anyone knew her name. And the whispers started. Her team had worked so hard for years to polish her image, bury the noise, smooth the edges of her Hollywood past. But this wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a made-up tabloid headline. It was real. Her name attached to a world people didn't expect.
Here's the thing. Every time you think the Meghan Markle circus can't get any messier, someone lobs another grenade.
Once that picture went viral, the whole conversation shifted. People stopped asking, where was she? And started asking, who was she back then? And that's a completely different story, because this wasn't about a girl getting lucky. It was about a girl already in the game, already connected, already circulating through the same luxurious world she'd one day marry into. See, that's what made the screenshot so powerful. It wasn't just proof she existed in that circle, it was proof she belonged there, that she'd been doing the rounds, quietly building a network before anyone was even watching.
It was supposed to be just another late-night appearance. Laughs, promo chatter, maybe a few awkward...
Think about it. If she was casually getting Yacht Week invites from people in those circles, she wasn't just another actress hoping for her big break. She was somebody in that scene. And that changes everything about the fairy tale story we've been told of how she went from Hollywood hopeful to royal duchess. Because this hints that there was groundwork. Groundwork no one saw being laid.
Meghan Markle has been dragged through headlines before, but nothing has set her off quite like this.
Alright, so let's break down Yacht Week for a second. Because if you're picturing a wild vacation with bikinis and Aperol spritzes, you're missing half the story. We're talking about the Adriatic coast, summer of 2016, Croatia, Montenegro, the water sparkling like glass, the sky pure gold at sunset, rows of floating palaces, yachts lined up side by side, and the people on them? Oh, they're not just rich people on vacation. No. This is where power gets traded like currency. These events are networking gold mines disguised as parties. Every name on that guest list has been vouched for. You don't just show up because you can afford the yacht. You're there because you bring something valuable. Status, access, influence. It's a whole ecosystem. Proximity equals opportunity. Every glass clink is a calculated move. Every, "oh hey, nice to meet you," could shift someone's entire future. It's champagne and strategy. Business meetings in bikinis. Smiles that look carefree but are sharpened like weapons. Because everyone knows why they're there. To make connections. To climb. And when Meghan's name popped up connected to that scene, people started realizing this wasn't just gossip. This was context. You see, to outsiders, it looks like a glamorous holiday. But insiders, they'll tell you straight, Yacht Week isn't about relaxing, it's about positioning. Being seen by the right people, getting invited to the next event, the next yacht, the next room. And Meghan, if she was getting invited, it means someone thought she belonged there, that she had value in that high-stakes world. And that, my dear, doesn't happen by accident. Now, here's where things start to sparkle even more, because Meghan wasn't the loud one. She wasn't the look-at-me energy in those rooms. Her approach was softer, smoother. She was the kind of woman who could make you feel like you were the most important person in the room, even if she was surrounded by 10 others. She listened, she remembered names, she followed up, and that's what made her unforgettable. In a world where everyone's scrambling for attention, that kind of grace is gold. Hollywood's full of climbers, people hustling for that next role, that next headline, that next hand to shake. Most burn out fast, but Meghan, she played the long game. You know what someone once said about her? She's a real yacht girl, always fishing for fame. Reportedly, those were Prince Andrew's words. Ouch. But maybe he wasn't entirely wrong about the fishing part, because Meghan knew the waters she was swimming in. It wasn't about being the most talented person in the room, it was about being the most connected. And she got that early. While others were busy chasing roles, she was building bridges. Networking is one thing, passing around business cards and hoping something sticks. But being strategic, that's knowing exactly who you need to meet, engineering that chance introduction, and making sure that person still remembers you 6 months later. And Meghan, she was a master of that art. See, for years, everyone believed Meghan was this total outsider, a Hollywood actress from California who somehow stumbled into the royal spotlight. But insiders, they tell a different story. Because Meghan wasn't standing outside that exclusive door, she was already leaning on the handle. She had a golden key, and that key was called Soho House. Now, if you don't know what that is, let me paint the picture. Think private club meets royal pipeline. Dim lighting, hushed conversations, that low buzz of whispered deals. The kind of place where you can sip a cocktail next to an aristocrat, a movie producer, and a billionaire, all before midnight. Membership isn't about money, it's about access. You get in because someone powerful wants you there. And Meghan, she wasn't a one-time guest, she was a regular. Her name was on the list, she knew the staff, she had her table. She moved through that space like she belonged, because by that point she did. She wasn't hustling for an invite anymore, she was part of the ecosystem, someone whose presence carried its own quiet currency. Soho House isn't just a single location either. It's a network. London, New York, Los Angeles. Each one is a mirror of the same inner circle. You meet someone in London, bump into them again in LA, and suddenly you're not strangers. You're connected. And that's where it gets spicy. Because the entertainment elite and European high society, they overlap a lot. Movie producers funding indie films also lunch with old money heirs. Fashion icons rub shoulders with titled socialites. It's all one big, glittering web, and Meghan was woven right into the middle. So when the story came out later that she met Prince Harry on a blind date, people who actually knew that world practically rolled their eyes. Not because it couldn't have been true, but because the idea that she was some total outsider, it didn't line up. She'd already been swimming in the same waters long before Harry came splashing in. Now picture it, 2015 and 2016. Meghan's showing up at Mediterranean parties, exclusive charity galas in Monaco, and private events you can't even buy your way into. You don't get an invite unless someone whispers your name in the right ear, and she wasn't a random face in the crowd. She was part of the circuit, the same 200 or so people bouncing from yacht to penthouse to private club. She was moving in a very, very specific orbit. And in that orbit, royal acquaintances weren't rare. They were routine. So when the public heard about that fairy tale blind date, the insiders were like, oh, please. The overlap was already there. The proximity had been there for years. That's what's so fascinating, because it turns the story from destiny into design. Not a prince fell in love with a commoner, but a woman played her cards so precisely that when the moment came, she was already in the right room. And listen, that's not villainy, that's brilliance. See, when people talk about Meghan, they either worship her or tear her apart, but if you strip the emotion away, what you see is strategy. It's the blueprint of how power really moves, quietly, socially, through whispered names and repeated encounters. You can't fake that kind of access. You build it, you nurture it, you build You make yourself memorable in rooms that decide futures. That's what she did. And by the time she met Harry, officially, it wasn't some lightning bolt moment from the heavens. It was the culmination of a long, quiet climb. Now, here's where we start connecting dots. Because once you look at the full map, the screenshot, the yacht scene, the Soho House membership, the European events, you start to see the pattern. It's not the romantic Hollywood to royalty storyline that PR teams love to push. It's the behind-the-scenes grind that nobody talks about. No one just wakes up one day and ends up sipping tea with the queen. You build your way there. Every handshake, a seed, every conversation, an investment, every invite, a stepping stone. Meghan wasn't just lucky, she was intentional. Now, the biggest misconception people have is that strategy means manipulation, but it doesn't. It means understanding the game you're in, and she understood it perfectly. Hollywood isn't about talent, it's about access. Royalty isn't about heritage, it's about visibility. And Meghan built both, one yacht, one club, one conversation at a time. Think of it like a constellation. Yacht Week, Soho House, charity event in Monaco, private London dinners, individually, they look harmless. Together, they form a picture. And that picture shows a woman slowly, steadily, positioning herself closer and closer to the very world she'd one day call family. When that 2016 screenshot reemerged, it wasn't just a photo, it was a receipt. A little breadcrumb leading back to the parts of her journey we were never meant to see. Because by then, her image had been rewritten, polished, romanticized. The girl next door who just met a prince. But underneath that glossy fairy tale was a carefully constructed network that made the miracle possible. And honestly, that's the most human part of the story. It's not luck, it's not fate, it's hustle. Just the quiet, sophisticated kind. You want to know what's genius? Nobody noticed it happening. While everyone was busy watching red carpets and TV appearances, she was building connections that didn't make headlines. The world only caught on when it was too late, when she was already in the palace. And that's the beauty of moving below the radar. By the time people start asking questions, the game's already won. So let's fast forward. That innocent little message from Adam Hound, hey, come to Yacht Week, it wasn't just an invite. It was proof that she'd already stepped into that high-level playground years before her royal chapter ever began. That one message cracked open an entire hidden history, because once people saw that, they started digging. And when you pull one thread in Meghan's story, oh baby, an entire tapestry unravels. Every name connects to another name. Every event ties back to a circle of influence. And every coincidence starts to look like something else entirely. Let's be honest, the fairy tale version sells better. Girl meets prince, they fall in love, happily ever after. It's the story we want to believe. But the real version, it's far more interesting because it shows that fairy tales aren't born, they're built. And that's exactly what Meghan did. She built hers, carefully, gracefully, and strategically, not through scandal or chaos, but through calculated presence. That's the part that leaves people either impressed or unnerved, because it forces us to realize this is how the world really works. How the world